Gachakuta's power system is an interesting side grade of what you could call the human cognition based kind of philosophy for creating a power system. Like, it's the idea that human thought and belief have some sort of supernatural power or influence to them. In the world of Gachiakuta, this idea that thought has power to it is both the basis for the enemies that the characters fight throughout the story and the power they use to stand up against those enemies. There are monsters that are formed from the trash of the world that Gachiakuta is set in. This trash has been influenced in some form by the phenomena of people's thoughts and feelings directly converting to a form of supernatural energy. The only way to take down a trash beast that has been brought to life with thought energy is to use an object that itself has supernatural energy from thought being imbued within it. Like a knife carefully sharpened by a chef, or a pen that a writer has had for a long time. If a person uses an object for many years and treats it with care wholeheartedly, a thought will dwell within it. That is how Jinki are described. People who are called givers are the only people who can actually access the strength from the thought placed within Jinki. Any person who puts enough time and love into an object can place a thought within it and make it a Jinki. But if they want to utilize the strength within that object, then they need to be a giver. Not everyone can be a giver, but everybody can make a Jinki. Normally, other givers will have their own Jinki that they've spent a good bit of their life with. That is seemingly the only way most givers can access the strength of an object, if it's an object that they specifically have a close relationship with. Our main character, Rudo, is interesting because despite having his own set of Jinki, he doesn't utilize those specifically to get supernatural power. Rather, he draws the strength that exists from objects that are Jinki but have no associated wielder, and uses all the strength that exists within it until it is exhausted, destroying the object. This sort of assumedly tells us a few things. Number one, that an object can be a Jinki without having a specific wielder, and that number two, in theory, Jinki have a limit and maybe other givers can eventually exhaust their Jinki as well. The first giver and Jinki user we meet within Gachiakuta is a character named Engine with a umbrella themed Jinki called Umbreaker. This Jinki seems to be mobility and area of effect focused, although it does seemingly also allow for pinpoint attacks, very reminiscent of the scythe from Crazy Slots in Hunter x Hunter. There are a pair of glasses that can be used to psychically peer into somebody and get a reading of their true nature, as well as just increasing things like visual acuity. These two first examples of Jinki are quite good as they illustrate a difference between two vague types of Jinki, attacker and defender types. It's said that if someone wants to use their precious thing to the fullest, their Jinki will be the offensive type, and if they wish to safekeep their precious thing so as to avoid harm being caused to it, then it'll become the defensive type. Offensive and defensive type referring to the specific kinds of abilities that manifest within Jinki and the intentions of their user, either keeping the person and the object out of harm's way or giving the person/object the ability to get harm out of their way. Back to examples of Jinki, there is the Ripper, which is a set of metal scissors that become larger scissors when the actual ability of the Jinki is brought out. What I really like about this Jinki specifically is, despite being a very sharp, very large set of scissors that are very good at cutting things, the way that it is actually used by its wielder Rio is very blunt force trauma. This Jinki almost wears its heart on its sleeve the most out of any of the other in the series by nature of how effective it is at its specific job. Do you need to cut something? Okay, here's a giant pair of scissors that are really good at cutting things. Another one of my favorite Jinki is a plug that a character will plug into a wall, used to redirect electricity from the wall into themselves and then into another person in order to heal them of their injuries. I really like this Jinki named Type Heal for the fact that it clearly demonstrates the way in which individual experience and interpretation can shape the supernatural ability of a Jinki. The person in which this Jinki belongs to got it in their head at a young age that there was a connection between electricity and healing. Through their close experiences with this plug that would become the Jinki, the idea that electricity could be used to heal people went from childish innocence to reality. The supernatural protector of a location called Canvas Town utilizes a pen Jinki that allows the user to create basically spells which act as they are written out. Like if you wrote on someone with the pen Jinki, please protect this person from mortal danger, they would be able to live from getting hit with an attack that would have killed them once. Interestingly, the pen is an example of a Jinki that we have seen passed on from one person to another. And as a final example, there's the Lucky Charm Jinki, which is utilized by Rudo. This charm was prayed into daily by the person that implanted the thought within it, though they themselves were not a giver. We only learned that this object had enough care and thought put into it to become a Jinki during a fight where it broke, and Rudo used it under his ability to pull the strength out of any broken or thrown away object, which demonstrates to us that any person can implant a thought within an object and turn it into a Jinki if they are committed enough. I think human cognition based power systems, as I called them before, are some of the best out there. Because, like, not only is that the logic for why we write stories in the first place, as a form of wish fulfillment to see or explore a world where things that we want or can think of happening can actually happen, but it's also sort of the logic in which stories and their logic themselves are written vary. If you suspend your disbelief and take everything I say at face value, I will be internally consistent, so the logic I present can speak for itself as why things happen as they do, instead of just this happens because I say so. The concept for Gachikuta's power system really stands out to me just for how intuitive it feels. If you treat an object nicely enough, that object gains thought. Thought is converted to supernatural energy, and you can use that supernatural energy to do cool battle shonen stuff. I really like how Gachiakuta is an example of an action shonen story which involves objects that have supernatural power being important to the overarching narrative, or at least objects with supernatural power are a big focus of the narrative. The aesthetics of Jinki as ordinary everyday objects that become more grandiose and sharp when they get their supernatural power, that I really love. I like how distinct the Jinki are visually and conceptually, and I think they do a very good job of helping set apart Gachiakuta's aesthetic from other shonen manga. Gachiakuta having an umbrella-themed supernatural ability sold me on it from day one, and I'm just really glad to see more manga going for something like that. Dandadan taught me I love the idea, and Gachiakuta taught me I just want to see more people attempting it.